Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The Oregon Ducks commitment sweatshirt. It comes back on as Dan Lanning, the Oregon Ducks, land another commitment in the 2025 class, coming from four-star offensive lineman Alai Kalaniuvalu, one of my favorite offensive linemen in the 2025 cycle, a kid that we just talked about with the Oregon Ducks earlier this morning. And what makes me so high on a kid like Alai is you start projecting him to the collegiate level and just say, we're so confident that he's going to be a multi-year starter at the Power 4 level. And it is so important to get these kind of bodies from the high school ranks. And you look at the transfer portal in this modern era of college football, you can go address multiple positions, right? The wide receiver spot, the cornerback spot, all positions that we saw Oregon go out and get aggressive in the transfer portal. That one position that is relatively hard to fill in the transfer portal is on the offensive line. You just don't see that many quality offensive linemen hit the transfer portal. And a lot of Power 5 programs are looking for starting caliber guys on the offensive line in the transfer portal. So it's one of those position groups that you want to get right at the high school level. And you talk about betting on a kid that just seems to be a lock to be a multi-year starter at the Power 5 level. I think that is what Alai brings to this Oregon offensive line. I think Alik Terry, the offensive line coach, is doing a phenomenal job building this offensive line class in 2025. Want to, get into the film of Alai, talk about what he brings to this Oregon offensive line. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and a special shout out to the Oregon Duck fans. It's no secret we've talked extensively about this program. The amount of support the Oregon Duck fans are throwing in the comment section, that stuff absolutely means the world. I'm pretty sure my most used emoji right now is a duck, responding to all of you guys. I can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We got a lot of commitments to break down for the Oregon Ducks over the next couple of weeks. And without further ado, let's get into a line. I first want to start with just how polished this kid is on the offensive line. You start looking at a lot of these offensive line prospects, they might have the ideal frame, but not necessarily the most polished football players. I look at Alai coming from Bishop Gorman, and this is a kid that looks like he's ready to step on a college football field and have immediate success. You dive into the film, his sophomore year starts at left tackle, transfers to Bishop Gorman during his junior year, kicks onto the inside. I think you get a ton of positional versatility with a kid like Alai, who I think has the athleticism to play the offensive tackle spot, but probably has the highest ceiling as an interior offensive lineman, whether that be as a center or an offensive guard. You talk about position versatility, why it's so important at the collegiate level when you're trying to get your best 5 offensive linemen out on the field. Having guys that you can slot in at multiple different positions, that allows you to get your best 5 offensive linemen on the football field. A kid like Alai, I think, brings that to the table. And then you get into the film, and I think it first starts with the functional athleticism for the size. You look at the Oregon offensive line, they want to ask a lot of their offensive linemen in terms of getting to the perimeter, getting to the second level, operating in space. This is a kid that just fits what Oregon wants to do. I mean, Oregon wants to do a lot of different things in the run game, which means you have to have your offensive linemen be able to operate in a lot of different ways. A kid like Alai, you can ask to just get on his down blocks, move bodies off the line of scrimmage. He certainly can do that. But if you want to pull him to the play side, get him to the second level, get him to the perimeter, he can do all of those things as well. So not only a really good football player, but I think really fits in terms of what Oregon is looking for on the offensive line. When you talk about hand placement, this is a guy that just knows how to use his hands. He's very good in pass protection. You start going down the box, there's not many boxes that are not checked with this kid's game. And I don't necessarily know if he has the upside of a Josh Connerly Jr., who I think could very legitimately be a top 10 NFL draft pick in 8 months. That being said, he's an NFL caliber guy that's going to be a multi-year starter for this Oregon program. And these kind of guys are so important to get at the high school level. You start diving into the film, and again, it's so polished. I think the first thing that really stands out working at that left tackle spot is what he can do as an athlete. I mean, in these stretch zone run schemes, like you see him working at the line of scrimmage, putting a guy in the dirt, and then getting to the second level, you see the athleticism. I mean, he's lead blocking 40 yards down the field, putting the safety in the dirt. This is exactly how you want your offensive lineman to operate in this Oregon offense. He is cooking for a kid who's almost 300 pounds. I mean, the athleticism that he possesses, the power that he has in his hands, those are the type of kids that you want to bet on at the collegiate level, pulling to the play side. He can be a road grader. You see the athleticism out of his stance, pulling to the play side here, and then we're going to, at the point of attack, we're just going to bury a linebacker that is trying to fit that run. I mean, so many different ways you can get him involved. Power in the upper body is certainly there. I think another really impressive thing is what he looks like in pass protection, how he uses these hands, where you're going to see one, just really comfortable getting off the line of scrimmage in his kick slides. And number two, I mean, pay attention to how he's using his hands right here, where he's just chopping this edge rusher, putting him in the dirt. You watch that one back, power in the hands, really, really heavy hands. This is a kid that has just played at a high level, at the high school level for so long. You feel so good about projecting him to the collegiate level. You take a look at what Alik Terry's doing on the offensive line. Kind of goes back to the conversation that we had this morning about why Dan Lanning in this Oregon program are so successful on the recruiting trail. Dan Lanning's hired a phenomenal staff, and I think Alik Terry is one of those guys. You start scrolling down to the offensive line commitments. Zaire Addison, another phenomenal athlete for the size, a guy that I think will be a tackle at the collegiate level. You start scrolling down, you have Alai committed. You go down to Dimitri Manning, the guy at 6'7", 345 pounds. We broke him down about 2 weeks ago. One of those kind of guys that you just want to bet on. I don't think he's has year one ready as a guy like Alai is, but it's important to get just different kind of offensive line prospects in this program. Dimitri Manning kind of reminds me of someone like Jaquan McRoy, who again is going to need a year or two with this within this Oregon Ducks program. The ceiling is super high. And then you have guys like Alai who you just feel really good about starting for multiple years on this Oregon offensive line. We knew that Dan Lanning would prioritize the line of scrimmage play heading into the Big Ten. That's exactly what we're seeing this Oregon Ducks program do on the recruiting trail. It's a blast to talk about guys like DeCorian Moore and Dallas Wilson. If this Oregon team is going to win national championships, Dan Lanning knows the recipe. He knows the recipe to how to beat Alabama, Georgia, Michigan. You got to be able to compete along the line of scrimmage. Dan Lanning's doing that on the recruiting trail. Another massive commitment for this Ducks program. We'll cut it there. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the boys, the Oregon fans. Y'all continue to show a ton of love. We appreciate it more than you guys know. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.